Hey everybody, we're back. I'm here with my colleague and good friend, Sydney McCann. Sydney, thank you so much for joining us. Today's topic is about the elephant in the room, and that is burnout. So, serious stuff.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. It may not be a fun topic, but it's an important one.
At every workplace, every employer really wants to do what they can to make sure it's a healthy and safety workplace. Mm-hmm. And at GreenTree, it's no different. We have to put a lot of safety mechanisms in place. From your experience as a program manager, what have you seen on the ground? What does it look like when someone's burning out, or what leads someone to burnout?
Yeah, the reality is everyone's got their lives. Everyone's going through deaths in the family. Issues with marriage, immigration issues, career, school, and everything. Everyone's human.
Big stuff.
They got stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
And unfortunately, that combined with being a caregiver, it's just hard. Compassion fatigue is a real thing. It's hard to give somebody everything you have all of the time for 12 hours a day and then go home and take care of your kids or finish your homework for class or attend your second job, whatever it may be. It's not an easy thing. And the reality is it can lead to burnout. And unfortunately, for many people, it does. Yeah. From someone who's experienced burnout a few times in my working career,
I definitely don't take it lightly. And through GreenTree, it's super important that we put safeguards in place. So maybe let's kind of speak to our history of what we've seen in the past and maybe where we're at now. In the past, we used to have some really, really long shifts.
Yes.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we went from 48s. I actually did a few 96s in my time, which were fairly long. And now we've switched it down. I think our longest shift right now is 12 hours. And the change is huge. I myself, I was okay with the 24s, but I knew a lot of people that weren't.
Yeah.
And it wears on you to be caring for somebody at work that whole time, but the reality is you're also with a coworker that whole time, and to have yourself on that entire 24 hours is not an easy thing, and eventually it gets to you.
It's a lot of mental headspace.
Yes.
Right? Especially when you walk in that door and you have to put a smile on your face, but you don't feel that way. And so it's super important to do what you can to practice good, healthy habits. But it's equally as responsible of the employer to make sure we're not asking too much.
Yeah.
So in the past, we created maximum length of shifts or time allowed to work in a week, and we've had to decrease that. I think right now we're at 35 hours a week as our working norm, and people can pick up extra shifts, and that is a byproduct of what we've experienced in the past. We learned, unfortunately, the hard way we've seen staff burn out.
Yeah, I know lots of staff members who, it may have been expected that you're working 35, 36, but they ended up doing 90, 100 hours a week routinely, and no one can survive that. That's just not something you're able to continually give the same quality of care if that is what you're experiencing. So having that limit, 35, 36 hours, that's what you're working in a week. And then other things, when we're doing the hiring process and we're sitting down to build your schedule, for me, some of the questions I ask are, okay, you're doing 3 12s. Is that better in a row? Would you rather them separated? What would it look like to have a night shift incorporated into that? Are you able to balance nights and day shifts? All of these questions are so important. And the reality is I have different answers from everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Some people want their shifts together. Some people want them separated, and they know what they need.
Yeah, there really isn't a one-size-fits-all approach in this.
No.
It's really about the individual, and it's making sure that we do what we can to support them, because the byproduct is they will be healthy, they'll have longevity, and person served get the consistency and the quality of care they need.
Yeah, and to build off that, it changes, right? People's lives change over time, and somebody who may have been able to work 36 hours for 6 months, something will happen and that'll just change. And that's why these continuous check-ins that we do are so important, because that's the time that people are able to come to you and go, I just can't do it anymore. I'm pouring from an empty cup. I have nothing left to give, and I need some time to recoup, to build myself up again. And that may involve a changed schedule, switching to nights instead of days, or it could be simply moving to part-time, whatever it needs to be.
Our commitment needs to be so strong to allow for that flexibility. If we want to retain people long term, we have to be able to ebb and flow, because things aren't static. They're always changing. We can't control these variables that come up.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky because we do have such a empathetic team. That,
huge.
Yeah, instead of looking at that and going, oh my gosh, why am I covering? Why am I helping out? Our team is able to simply say, if that happened to me, I'd need help too. And
for sure.
I will need it in the future, and I'm able to provide help now, and I'm going to need help in the future.
One of the support processes we've had to adopt over the years is not asking too much, and that came with a very steep learning curve. Because sometimes a team member will say, "I can do it. And you're already at 40 hours this week. You can't do more than that. We've already seen what it's done in the past." So that's hard. That's hard when someone wants more shifts or they feel like they need more shifts, but you can also see you don't want to take more just because they're willing to give it. It's really, really hard. Have you ever encountered that as a program manager and with team members wanting more, and you're just going, the right move is not giving more?
The economy's hard. Life is hard these days.
Absolutely.
And some people just want to work more because they simply need more money. And unfortunately, the downward trajectory of care is so obvious. I can see it. Their trainers can see it. Their co-staff can see it. It's just very evident that when someone starts to pick up all these extra shifts, they're going to miss the little things. Maybe they're not going to try as hard to communicate with the kiddo around what outfit they want to wear. And while that may seem unimportant to us, for that kiddo, that might be the most important decision they're making that day.
Totally.
And it's essential. So when you start to burn out, when you start to take on too much, you're not able to provide that individualized care. And sometimes it comes to simply telling the person that you're noticing. You're noticing that the quality of care is dropping, and they're going to have to lessen the hours back to the 35, 40 it's supposed to be.
Absolutely. I think there's a big common trait in the world of caregivers is we often give too much. And that's unfortunately a byproduct of what we do, and the learning opportunity is making sure you save some for yourself, right? I don't know if you've ever experienced that yourself, but everyone has to learn what that looks like. And from what I've seen, the team at GreenTree, everyone cares so much that our responsibility is to keep that in check, make sure they don't give too much. So I know that gets woven into the hiring process. What does self-care mean to you, and what does that look like, and what do you do to protect your mental health? These are all things that play into it. What are some things that you've seen from an agency lens that we've done? We can maybe chat a little bit about that we do to protect the team.
I think you just touched on it a little bit, but the skills that we've talked about through a few of these episodes, the empathy, the caring, the compassion that we have is what causes people to give too much. We have a core group of staff members and just generally caregivers in general who are willing to give everything, and the company has had to learn not to take advantage of that. And that's the biggest thing. And myself, throughout my leadership journey, I've had to learn not to take advantage of the people who are willing to give more than they can. So that's huge. I would say another big one is our goals. So we set goals, and throughout the year we work on them, and I check in with them very regularly. And for a lot of people, one of the number one goals is maintain a work-home balance.
Totally.
And that is
easier said than done.
Way easier said than done.
For sure.
And it looks different for everybody. So for some people it might be, I'm not picking up Saturday shifts anymore. My boyfriend has Saturday off. I need Saturdays off. I work Sundays. I don't need to do Saturdays too. And for somebody else, it could just be stop picking up more hours, or make sure that I'm doing something for myself after a shift. And finding ways to support people's self-care goals is what's so important. And I think our goal setting has allowed that. Yes, everyone's goals are different. My self-care is not going to be your self-care, and it's not going to be anybody else's.
Yeah, absolutely. I know as far as resources, we've created certain things like a mental health plan of sometimes that trajectory goes faster than what anyone could anticipate, and workplace accommodations comes into play, or really just resources. If something's going on, how can we help? That's got to be the commitment. Commitment from the agency, commitment from our team is, what do you need to be successful, or what do you need to be healthy? Right?
Yeah.
So important. And again, that looks different for everyone. But through our mental health plan, we've obviously established safeguards and communication paths. But I've noticed not everyone takes advantage of those. Sometimes people have a hard time asking for help.
Yeah.
So telltale signs. I mean, those are things that we got to watch for.
Yeah, and one of the most important ones, like we talked about, is just in general the care quality going down. You can have somebody who was the most amazing, phenomenal support worker one week, and all of a sudden something has happened, or they've become burnt out over time, and the quality starts to slide, or they're coming to work without a smile on their face, or they're not showing up to staff meetings all the time, or to the Christmas party, whatever it may be. They're just not as excited. A little disconnected.
Sometimes you see shifts in their personality or their mannerisms, just little subtle hints that kind of get woven in.
Yeah, you can see people either close in on themselves, or they become more aggressive than they previously were. Yeah, it's different for everybody.
Absolutely. One thing that we try and pride ourselves on is open conversations, open discussions about mental health, openly talking about burnout, of destigmatizing it. Is that the right word? Destigmatizing?
Yeah, that's the right one.
Because it's very taboo when you say, I think I'm burning out, or I am burnt out. That often, what I've seen in my working career is that by the time someone openly says, I think I'm burning out, they most likely already are. And then it's about a path to healing. It's about a path to how can we get them to the point where they're back on track and they're feeling good and they're feeling like they're ready to support themselves so they can support other people, which is tricky. It's
not an easy thing to do.
It is not easy. It is not an easy thing whatsoever. What about getting people access to resources? How do we do that? And what does that look like? Like, what have you seen that works well?
I would say we've done two very important things. First of all, we've had a list of resources in the Okanagan sent out to all staff members. Yeah. And simply doing that is saying, it's not shameful to need these because I'm providing them to you. I'm saying that it's all right to need these. Yeah. And I openly talk about it in staff meetings. Yeah. We share the list of resources. We ask anybody if they have anything to contribute to that list. Yeah. And secondly, our benefits cover counseling. And counseling is so incredibly important. I cannot emphasize that enough. So important, but it's still a little bit taboo in our society. It's still a little taboo, yeah. People, especially as a man, say, I went to go see a counselor. Depending who you're talking to, they just may make a joke or a wisecrack at it. And I think for a lot of people, it can be tricky. It can be tricky to go to counseling. Yeah, definitely. And unfortunately, we can't control what's going on in people's personal lives. We don't know what's being talked about there, but our environments at GreenTree are very pro mental health. Yeah. In our staff meetings, I used to be a counselor, and that's something I talk about is, my experience counseling, or I'm just open with the fact that I've done it and I myself receive counseling. And the idea that a management member is openly saying that can just lead people to feel less shame. You've opened the door, saying it's okay to have these types of conversations. Exactly. Yeah. And sometimes there's nothing we can do. Sometimes people will experience burnout. They will come to our company already in a stage of burnout. And at that point, it's we can do what we can, but it's beyond us. It's these resources that are actually what's helping at that point. Absolutely. So every workplace has stress. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, ourselves included. But we do our very best to mitigate that. But the nature of caring for youth and adults with diverse needs, especially in the complex medical realm, that's stressful. Yeah. And one of the things that we often try and do is give our team members a break. But in some of these situations, there's nothing we can do, or at least it feels like there's nothing we can do to avoid stress. Maybe you can talk a little bit about how we try and support our staff in these stressful situations. Do we debrief? Do we give them breaks? Do we talk about it at staff meetings? What are some key healthy components that you try and implement in your programs to decrease stress? Yeah, for sure. And I'll focus on the medically complex aspect of that. Yeah. So we have what's called a manager on call. There's somebody you can call 24/7, 7 days a week, and they're going to answer, and they're going to be able to help you with whatever it is that you're having trouble with. Yeah. And part of that is if one of our kiddos goes into a seizure or has a heart issue or a fever, anything that it may be, you have somebody that you can call. You have one of us who has the information, has the experience and the knowledge to tell you what the next steps are. Often the next steps are sit, observe, and watch. There's nothing you can do.
Yeah.
And that's when debriefing comes in. I have never had a situation where a seizure has occurred for one of the kiddos and I don't then sit down and talk with them about what that experience was for them.
Absolutely.
Somebody from management, it may not be myself, it may be a supervisor, one of us will always sit down and say, what was that like for you? How did that impact you? And I feel that that's one of the most important things to do, because if there's nobody there to check in with you, you're stuck. You're in that mindset. You're not able to vocalize it, to speak about it. And having those conversations are what allows you to let it go. It's what allows you to keep working and
get it off your
on.
chest.
Exactly.
For sure.
So the debriefing is important.
Yeah.
Other things we do is if you're ever going to a hospital or dealing with a medical situation like that, everything's always in writing. If I'm going to give you instructions, it's going to be written down. Step 1, step 2, step 3. Because the reality is, if you're in the back of an ambulance and you're being asked 100 questions, your mind is not going to be able to recall 100 pieces of information.
Absolutely.
It's simply not there. And having that written instruction right down on your phone so it's right there for you, I feel helps people a lot to manage these situations.
That support network is so vital. It's instrumental in success, but also that peer mentorship of, you can get it from your teammates, you can get it from your, management member on call, whether it be the supervisor or the manager or what that looks like. But these general incidences that come up, or these critical incidences, that time to kind of reflect, normalize what happened, and realize that it's going to be okay. But in the midst of it, we have to acknowledge that those situations are so stressful. Yes. And you and I both have learned over the years that in that game of stress-like responses, you do have to pace yourself. And it's so important that we let the team members know to let us know when they're not okay.
Yeah.
Right? Someone's overtired. Someone experienced something traumatic, or they saw something they weren't comfortable with. Stress can present itself in so many different ways, which leads into this bigger, umbrella of burnout, that the more we can do to support our staff, the better we can mitigate stress, hopefully in hopes to alleviate risk of burnout. Yeah.
Yeah, and that, calls back to what we were talking about earlier, is having that open line of communication and having the staff members be able to come to you and say, whoa, I didn't like that. That was really stressful. Yeah. And just acknowledging that. Sometimes all you need is for someone to say, of course, obviously that was stressful.
Acknowledgement.
Yeah, it would be stressful for everyone. It has nothing to do with a lack of competency in your job. Simply, that was a stressful situation.
Yeah.
And you did good. You made it through, and that's sometimes all we need to hear. I know for myself, sometimes that's all I got to hear, and I am able to then continue handling the situations.
And I would like to acknowledge on all levels, from direct support staff, but even on a manager lens, sometimes having your peer and talking to another manager, or even as the owner of the company, and talking with our director or the operational team, or even just you and I like this, we've walked the same lines. We've been through these similar situations and going, that's heavy, right? And someone just to say that just allows you to drop your shoulders and take a breath, take a minute, and just acknowledge that what you experienced was something of magnitude, is so valuable, so important.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the biggest stress can be the idea that you had to watch a child that you really care for be in pain or go through something difficult, and knowing that you have that support network around you and that child has a support network is sometimes all they need to hear. They can go home that night and sleep soundly because they can trust the next person coming on. You
nailed it. The nature of caregivers of just wanting to help, wanting to solve, wanting to heal.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in not all situations can we take away that pain. Yeah. And that's part of the hard truth of the caregiver industry is we want to take people's pain away. And that's not always possible. And having that realization that doing the best that you can with the tools that you have and the resources at your disposal is huge. Yeah. Just showing up. It's so valuable.
I really like that you brought that up, because I think that's an aspect of burnout I've never thought about, is people trying to fix. When you're constantly trying to fix an issue and it's impossible, it's not going to work to fix that will burn you out.
Yeah.
And I find some of the most successful coworkers I've had are people who accept that we're managing, not fixing.
Yeah.
And we're finding the strengths, we're building on what somebody may be good at or the strengths that they may have, rather than focusing on trying to fix something that may be limiting.
100%.
And yeah, that can be the best thing you can possibly do for yourself, is just acknowledging that that's what the goal is.
Sydney, thank you so much for discussing the elephant in the room today. Talking about burnout's never easy, but hopefully us talking about it today, normalizing it, and I hope that helps someone out there.
Yeah.
I think it's really, really, good, healthy stuff to talk about.
Yeah, there's no shame in asking for help, and that's what GreenTree's built on.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time today.